Station Master Vreltak's day had been going perfectly well until the distress signal arrived. He sat in his command chair on Kepler's Rest, a trading station that floated in the quiet space near the galactic fringe. The station was old but reliable. Thousands of ships passed through every cycle. Merchants traded goods. Travelers rested. Nothing exciting ever happened here. That was how Vreltak liked it. He was Matharian with smooth blue skin and 4 careful eyes that watched every screen in his command center. His people valued caution above all else. They planned. They followed rules. They never took risks. The distress signal changed everything. "Station Master," his communications officer called out, her voice tight with worry. "Emergency transmission from mining colony Tertius 7. They are under attack." Vreltak's heart sank. All 4 of them. Pirates again? They had been growing bolder in recent months, hitting the outer colonies where defense was weak. "Contact the Coalition Defense Fleet," he ordered. "Request immediate assistance." The officer worked her console, then looked up with bad news in her eyes. "The nearest defense fleet is 3 cycles away, sir. The colony will not survive that long. 3 cycles. The pirates would destroy everything by then." Vreltak felt helpless. This was the problem with the galactic fringe. Too far from help. Too easy to attack. Then his sensor operator spoke up, confusion in his voice. "Sir, I am detecting a vessel approaching our position. Very fast. Unknown configuration." "Identify it," Vreltak said. "I cannot, sir. The vessel is not in our database. It is not responding to standard hailing frequencies." "And sir?" The operator paused, his voice uncertain. "The acceleration profile makes no sense. Our computers say it is physically impossible." Vreltak stood up from his chair. "Physically impossible?" That was concerning. "Show me." The main screen flickered to life. It showed a vessel unlike anything Vreltak had ever seen. It was angular and aggressive, covered in thick armor plates. Weapons bristled from every surface. It looked like someone had built a ship with the sole purpose of surviving combat and delivering violence. The vessel was decelerating now, but the numbers made no sense. The G-forces should have turned any crew inside into paste. "Try all frequencies," Vreltak ordered. "Find out who they are." His communications officer worked frantically. Then she stopped, her translator device flickering with confusion. "Sir, I am picking up internal communications from the vessel. The language is unknown, but the translator is attempting to interpret." She put it on speakers. Strange sounds filled the command center. They were harsh and quick, full of odd rhythms. The translator worked hard, producing fragments of meaning. Distress call confirmed. Mining colony under attack. 3 hostile vessels, weapons hot, ready for combat deployment. One voice came through clearer than the others. It was calm and controlled, belonging to someone in command. "Copy that. We heard someone needed help. Navigation plot course for Tertius 7. Weapons, I want firing solutions ready. We are going in loud." Vreltak felt a chill run through his body. This unknown vessel was responding to the distress call. But they had not asked for permission. They had not identified themselves. They were simply taking action. It was terrifying and strangely reassuring at the same time. The vessel dropped out of faster-than-light travel, right in the middle of Kepler's Rest traffic lanes. Alarms blared. Automated systems screamed warnings about collision protocols being violated. Merchant ships scattered like frightened fish. Then, finally, the unknown vessel sent a transmission. The voice was female, speaking in that same harsh language. The translator worked overtime. "This is Captain Rebecca Chen of the United Nations Space Command Warship Defiant. We received a distress call from Tertius 7. We are responding. Sit tight. We will handle this, United Nations. Space Command?" Vreltak had never heard of these things. What species were these humans? Before he could ask, the Defiant accelerated away, moving toward Tertius 7 at speeds that should not be possible. It disappeared in a flash of light, entering faster-than-light travel with casual ease. Vreltak stood in his command center, all 4 eyes wide with shock. His crew stared at their screens in stunned silence. "Sir," his sensor operator said quietly, "what were those beings?" Vreltak did not have an answer, but something told him the galaxy had just changed. A new species had arrived. One that did not wait for permission. One that heard a call for help and simply responded. One that called themselves human. He activated the long-range sensors. "Track that vessel. I want to know what happens at Tertius 7. And someone find out everything we can about these humans." His communications officer looked up from her console. Sir, I found something. The vessel's computer signature. It contains information about their home system. What does it say? The officer's voice was shaky. Their home planet is classified as a Class 12 death world, sir. Extreme environmental hazards. Multiple extinction events in their history. Dangerous predators. Violent weather. There are only 3 other Class 12 worlds in known space, and all of them are uninhabited. Vreltak sat back down in his chair slowly. These humans had evolved on a world that tried to kill them every single day, and they had not just survived. They had thrived. They had built ships and traveled to the stars. What kind of species did that create? He was about to find out. In the distance, moving faster than any ship Vreltak had ever tracked, the UNSC Defiant raced toward a battle. Captain Rebecca Chen sat in her command chair, calm and ready. She had heard people needed help. For a human, that was all the reason required. The mining colony of Tertius 7 was dying. 3 pirate cruisers circled the small settlement like predators around wounded prey. Their weapons fired in steady patterns, destroying infrastructure with calculated precision. Power generators exploded. Water treatment facilities collapsed. The colony's weak defense shields flickered and failed. Inside the colony's command center, Governor Thesk watched his world end. He was a small Brevian, with gray skin and large eyes that had seen too much violence today. His colony had 30,000 residents, families, workers, children. The pirates did not care. All personnel to emergency shelters, he ordered, his voice heavy with defeat. Seal the blast doors. May the cosmos have mercy on us. His sensor operator suddenly jerked upright. Governor, new contact. Single vessel dropping out of FTL. Thesk felt a spark of hope quickly crushed by reality. 1 ship against 3 pirate cruisers? It would be suicide. Probably just another merchant vessel that would flee as soon as they saw the situation. Then his operator's voice changed, filling with confusion and awe. Governor, the vessel is not running. It is accelerating toward the pirates. And sir, it is broadcasting a message. Thesk listened to the transmission. The voice was calm, almost casual, speaking in a language his translator struggled with. But the meaning came through clearly enough. This is Captain Chen of the UNSC Defiant to hostile vessels. You have exactly 30 seconds to power down your weapons and surrender. This is your only warning. On the lead pirate cruiser, Captain Skresh laughed. He was a krill warrior, covered in thick scales and scars from 100 raids. 1 ship threatening him? Threatening 3 fully armed cruisers? Target that fool, he ordered his crew. Show them what happens to heroes. All 3 pirate ships turned their weapons toward the Defiant. They fired together, a coordinated alpha strike designed to overwhelm any target. Energy beams and plasma torpedoes filled the space between them. The Defiant vanished in a ball of fire and light. Skresh grinned. Too easy. Then the fire cleared. The human ship was still there. Its armor was scorched and glowing. Whole sections had been vaporized. But it was still there. Still moving. Still accelerating. Skresh's grin faded. Fire again! Everything we have. The pirates unleashed everything. More energy beams. More plasma. Missiles streaked through space. The bombardment would have destroyed any normal vessel 10 times over. The Defiant's point defense systems came alive. Rapid-fire cannons shot down incoming missiles with precision. The ship rolled and twisted, presenting different armor sections to the incoming fire. Where energy weapons hit, the armor simply absorbed it, glowing brighter but holding firm. Then the Defiant returned fire. The sound that reached Tertius 7's sensors was unlike anything they had ever recorded. Deep rumbling thunder. The human ship's main railguns fired, launching solid metal projectiles at a significant fraction of light speed. The pirates' energy shields, designed to deflect energy weapons, did nothing against solid matter moving at such speeds. The projectiles punched through like the shields did not exist. The first railgun shot hit Skresh's cruiser dead center. The kinetic energy was devastating. The ship's hull buckled. Internal compartments collapsed. Systems failed across the vessel. Skresh stared at his damage reports in disbelief. Impossible. 1 shot had crippled his cruiser. The Defiant was not done. Missile tubes opened along its hull. Dozens of missiles launched, trailing fire and smoke. They were primitive looking, using chemical propulsion instead of sophisticated plasma drives. The second pirate cruiser tried to shoot them down. They destroyed many, but there were too many missiles coming from too many angles. When the first missile hit, it did not explode conventionally. The warhead detonated with a flash of nuclear fire. Then another, and another. Governor Thesk watched his screens in horror. "Are those nuclear weapons?" he whispered. His operator nodded slowly. "Yes, sir. The human vessel is using atomic weapons. Multiple atomic weapons. Nuclear weapons were considered barbaric by galactic standards, crude, dangerous. No civilized species use them in ship combat. The radiation alone made them impractical. The humans apparently did not care about galactic standards." The second pirate cruiser broke apart under the nuclear barrage. The third cruiser, seeing its companions destroyed or crippled, tried to run. It turned away and activated its faster-than-light drive. The Defiance railguns spoke again. 2 shots. The first destroyed the fleeing ship's drive systems. The second crippled its power core. The cruiser went dead in space, powerless and defeated. The entire battle had lasted 4 minutes. Captain Chen's voice came over the communication channels, calm as if she had just finished a routine patrol. "Tertia 7, this is Defiant. Hostile vessels have been neutralized. Are you in need of immediate assistance?" Thesk tried to speak. His mouth opened and closed, but no words came out. He was still processing what he had witnessed. His operator finally responded. "Defiant, this is Tertius 7. We have casualties and damage, but we are stable." "Thank you. Thank you so much. Understood. We will maintain position until coalition forces arrive." "Defiant out." Thesk finally found his voice. "What kind of ship can survive that kind of damage? What kind of species fights like that?" Back on Kepler's Rest, Vreltak watched the tactical data stream in. His crew sat in stunned silence. The battle recordings would be studied for years. Nothing in their databases prepared them for what they had witnessed. One of his analysts spoke up, her voice shaky. "Station Master, I have been reviewing the human vessel's design philosophy. It appears they built their ship assuming they would be fighting outnumbered and outgunned. Every system has backups. Every section is compartmentalized. The armor is layered. They designed their ship to take massive damage and keep fighting." Another analyst added his findings. "Their weapons are interesting. They do not rely on our energy shield technology. Their railguns use simple kinetic energy. Our shields are useless against them." Vreltak processed this information. They built their entire combat doctrine around assumptions that our shields would not work. They fight as if every battle will be desperate, as if they expect to be hurt but plan to survive anyway. On the surviving pirate cruiser, Skresh stared at his ruined ship. His crew worked frantically to restore minimal power. He opened a communication channel to his superiors, his voice filled with fear. "This is Captain Skresh. We encountered a new species. Unknown designation. They call themselves humans. 3 words of warning to all ships. They weaponize kinetic energy. They use nuclear weapons like toys. And they built ships that refuse to die." He paused, then added one more thing. "And their captain said this was just a patrol frigate." Those words spread through the pirate networks like wildfire. A patrol frigate. Not even their main warship. Just a patrol frigate. If this was what humans considered a small ship, what were their large ones like? No one wanted to find out. The Emergency Coalition Council meeting was unlike any Vreltak had attended in his 40 years of service. The diplomatic wing of Kepler's Rest had been built for calm negotiations and slow decisions. Today it was filled with tension and fear. Representatives from 12 species sat around the circular chamber, all talking at once. At the center of it all stood Captain Rebecca Chen. She was human, of course. Vreltak had never seen one before. She was shorter than most species present, with dark hair pulled back in a practical style. Her uniform was plain and functional, but her eyes were sharp and calm, and she stood like someone who had faced danger many times before. She did not look afraid. That alone made Vreltak nervous. High Counselor Murthan, a Matharian like Vreltak, spoke first. His 4 eyes were wide with alarm. "Captain Chen, your intervention at Tertius 7 violated 17 separate coalition protocols. You entered our space without permission. You engaged in combat without authorization. You used weapons of mass destruction. These are serious violations." Chen nodded calmly. "I understand your concern, Counselor. But people were dying. We heard the distress call. We responded. That is what we do. That is what you do." Murthan repeated, his voice rising. "You simply decide to fight? Without planning? Without authorization? Yes, Chen said simply. When someone needs help, we help. We do not wait for permission to do the right thing. A representative from the rescued colony stood up. Governor Thesk's voice was passionate. The captain and her crew saved 30,000 lives. My people would be dead without them. We should be thanking them, not questioning them. Merthin shook his head. We are grateful for the lives saved. But we must understand what we are dealing with. Captain Chen, please explain your species to us. Where do you come from? What are your intentions? Chen considered the question. We come from a planet called Earth. It is in a system far from here. We are a young spacefaring species. We have only been traveling between stars for about 70 years. This caused shocked murmurs. 70 years? Most species took centuries to develop reliable, faster-than-light travel. A military analyst, a Brevian named Court, spoke up. Captain, I have reviewed the data from your battle. I have questions. Your ship sustained damage that should have destroyed it. How did you survive? Chen smiled slightly. The Defiant is built to take punishment. Every system has multiple backups. Every section can be sealed off. We assume that in any fight we will get hurt, so we build our ships to survive being hurt, Court continued. Your weapons. You use kinetic projectiles, nuclear missiles. These are considered primitive by our standards. Why? Because they work, Chen replied. We studied your energy shields. We realize they are designed to deflect energy weapons, so we use weapons that do not care about energy shields. Simple physics. A piece of metal moving fast enough will punch through anything. Vreltak spoke up for the first time. Captain Chen, your planet is classified as a Class 12 death world. Can you explain what that means for your species? Chen's expression grew more serious. Earth is a difficult planet. Extreme weather. Natural disasters. Dangerous animals. Our ancestors evolved as hunters. We are not the strongest species. We are not the fastest. But we are persistent. We do not give up ever. She paused, then continued. Our history is violent. We have fought wars for thousands of years. Against nature. Against other tribes. Against each other. We nearly destroyed ourselves several times. But each time we learned. We adapted. We survived. Merthin looked disturbed. You fought each other? Your own species? Yes, Chen said. For resources. For territory. For ideas. We had 2 world wars that killed millions. We developed nuclear weapons and almost used them to end all life on our planet. That is why we understand war so well. Because we have been doing it for our entire existence. The chamber fell silent. The implications were horrifying. A species that had spent thousands of years fighting. A species that had militarized every aspect of their culture. And now they were in space with warships. Court asked the question everyone was thinking. Captain, why are you so good at combat? Chen met his gaze steadily. Because we have to be. Every species we know of evolved as apex predators on their worlds. You were the strongest, the smartest. You never had to be afraid. She gestured to herself. Humans are persistence hunters from a death world. Everything on Earth wanted to kill us. The weather, the animals' disease, other humans. We survived by being stubborn and learning to fight anything. War is not an aberration for us. It is what we are good at. The truth of her words hung in the air like a weight. Before anyone could respond, an aide rushed into the chamber. Counselors, urgent news. The Kresh Dominion has issued an ultimatum. Vreltak felt his heart sink. The Kresh, the most aggressive military power in this region of space. They had been expanding for decades, taking systems through force. The coalition had never been able to stop them. Merthin activated the message. A Kresh commander appeared on the screen, all sharp teeth and aggressive posture. Coalition species, you have 48 hours to evacuate 3 border systems. They belong to the Dominion now. Resist and we will take them by force. This is your only warning. The message ended. The chamber erupted in panicked voices. 3 systems. Billions of lives. The coalition fleet could not stop the Kresh. They never had been able to. Captain Chen spoke into the chaos. How many ships do the Kresh have? Court pulled up tactical data. Intelligence suggests they will send 200 warships. The coalition can muster 80 vessels to defend. We have never defeated them in open battle. Chen nodded slowly, processing this information. I can contact my superiors. The United Nations Space Command can offer assistance. Merthin looked at her in disbelief. You would fight the Kresh Dominion for us? You just met us. You need help, Chen said simply. That is all the reason we need. Vreltak stood up. Captain Chen, if your species is willing to help us, the Coalition would be grateful. But we must understand what we are agreeing to. What will this cost us? Chen shook her head. Nothing. We do not ask for payment to do what is right. But you should know what you are asking for. When humans go to war, we commit fully. We will do whatever it takes to win. That might be difficult for you to watch. Murthan hesitated. The Coalition prided itself on civilized behavior. On following rules. On avoiding unnecessary violence. The humans clearly operated by different standards, but billions of lives hung in the balance. Very well, Murthan said. Captain Chen, the Coalition accepts your offer of assistance. Please contact your superiors. Tell them we need help. Chen nodded and activated her communicator. Within minutes, the response came back. Her expression remained neutral, but Vreltak thought he saw something change in her eyes. The fleet will arrive in 12 hours, Chen announced. 17 ships, led by Fleet Admiral Okonkwo. Court looked disappointed. Only 17 ships? Against 200? Chen smiled. It was not a comforting expression. 17 will be enough. Trust me, Vreltak hoped she was right, because in 12 hours they would find out if human confidence was justified, or if they had just made a terrible mistake. The galaxy was about to witness what humans called war. When the human fleet arrived at Arcturus Prime, Vreltak understood that he had underestimated them. 17 ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel in perfect formation. Each one was scarred and patched, showing signs of previous battles. These were not parade vessels. These were working warships that had seen real combat and survived. At the center of the formation was the largest ship Vreltak had ever seen. The UNSC Indomitable was a dreadnought, 3 times the size of the Defiant. Its hull was covered in weapons. Armor plating was layered so thick that it looked like a fortress that could fly. On the bridge of the Indomitable, Fleet Admiral Marcus Okonkwo reviewed the tactical situation. He was an older human, with gray hair and calm eyes that missed nothing. He had fought in the Jovian campaigns decades ago. He had seen war at its worst and learned how to win anyway. Status report, he said quietly. His tactical officer responded immediately. Coalition fleet is holding position at the border, sir. 80 vessels. The Kresh are 12 hours out with 200 ships. They outnumber us 2-1. Okonkwo nodded. 2-1. He had fought worse odds. Contact the Coalition fleet. Request permission to coordinate our forces. Within minutes, Vreltak found himself on a communication channel with the human admiral. Okonkwo's face appeared on his screen, calm and professional. Station Master Vreltak, I am Admiral Okonkwo. We are here to assist. Do you have tactical command of the Coalition forces? I coordinate operations, yes, Vreltak replied. Admiral, I must be honest. We have never defeated the Kresh in open battle. They are too aggressive, too willing to take losses. Our doctrine focuses on defense and retreat. Okonkwo smiled slightly. That is fine. Defense is a valid strategy. But today we will try something different. We will bait them into attacking us. Vreltak felt confused. Bait them? You want them to attack? Yes, we will position our ships to look vulnerable. The Kresh will see an opportunity and strike. When they commit to the attack, we spring the trap. Your ships stay back and provide support fire. Let us draw their aggression. It sounded insane. But Vreltak had seen what the Defiant could do. Maybe insane was exactly what they needed. The Coalition fleet pulled back to a defensive position. The human ships moved forward, spreading out in what looked like a poorly organized formation. To any observer, they appeared to be out of position, vulnerable. On one of the human destroyers, Marines gathered in the mess hall. They shared food and stories, relaxed despite the coming battle. Coalition observers watching the video feeds were shocked at how casual they seemed. One Marine, a large man with numerous scars, laughed at something his friend said. Remember the Battle of Europa Station? That was a bad Tuesday. 200 secessionist ships. We had 30, his friend nodded. Lost 12 ships that day. But we won. We always win. They talked about battles that should have ended in defeat. Impossible odds. Desperate situations. They spoke about them like they were just another day at work. Because for them, that was exactly what they were. 12 hours passed. Sensors detected the Kresh fleet dropping out of faster-than-light travel. 200 warships, aggressive and confident. They had never lost a battle against the Coalition. Today would be no different. Or so they thought. The Kresh commander, Supreme Admiral Vektash, studied the tactical display. The coalition fleet was hanging back, defensive, afraid, but there were also these strange new ships. The humans. His intelligence had warned him about them, but he dismissed it. Primitive weapons, crude tactics. They would fall like all the others. He saw that the human ships were spread out and poorly positioned. An easy target. He ordered the attack. The Kresh fleet charged forward in a massive wave. 200 ships against 17. The humans did not retreat. They held their position and opened fire. The first Kresh wave hit the human point defense systems like a wall. Hundreds of missiles and energy weapons filled space. The human ships twisted and rolled, their automated defenses shooting down incoming fire with mechanical precision. Armor took hits and glowed white-hot, but the ships kept fighting. Then the human railguns spoke. The sound reached the coalition ships even through the vacuum of space, transmitted through debris and radiation. Deep thunder. Each shot was a solid projectile moving at a fraction of light speed. The Kresh shields, designed for energy weapons, did nothing. Kresh ships began to die. Railgun rounds punched through hulls like paper. Internal explosions rippled through vessels as the kinetic energy tore them apart from the inside. Vektash watched in growing horror as his advantage disappeared. His ships outnumbered the humans, but the humans were simply better at killing. Each shot counted. Each weapon hit with devastating effect. He ordered his fleet to concentrate fire on the human dreadnought. 50 ships focused their weapons on the Indomitable. The bombardment was incredible. Energy beams and plasma torpedoes hammered the massive vessel. The Indomitable's armor glowed and melted. Whole sections were vaporized. Damage reports flooded in. But the ship did not die. Its compartmentalized design meant that destroyed sections could be sealed off. Backup systems activated. Damage control teams worked in conditions that would kill most species. And through it all, the Indomitable kept firing. 3 human destroyers executed what Admiral Okonkwo called a Thermopylae maneuver. They deliberately moved into the Kresh formation, taking massive damage but creating a debris field. Destroyed ships, floating metal, and radiation made the space a nightmare to navigate. The Kresh fleet, packed together for their concentrated attack, found themselves in a kill zone. Human missiles poured into the debris field. Nuclear warheads detonated, adding to the chaos. The Kresh ships, designed to fight in open space, struggled in the confined maze of wreckage. Coalition ships, following Admiral Okonkwo's instructions, provided support fire from range. Their energy weapons, less effective than human kinetics, still added to the Kresh problems. The battle turned into a slaughter. The Kresh had numbers, but the humans had experience. Every human ship fought like it was already dying, taking risks that seemed suicidal but somehow worked. They absorbed damage that should have destroyed them and kept fighting. After 3 hours of brutal combat, Vektash made the only choice he could. He ordered retreat. The surviving Kresh ships, less than half the original fleet, turned and ran. Human ships did not pursue. They held position, still guarding the border systems, still ready to fight. On the Indomitable, Admiral Okonkwo reviewed the damage reports. 2 destroyers were heavily damaged but repairable. 1 corvette had been lost. The crew had evacuated successfully before the ship's core failed. His tactical officer looked at the casualty numbers. "Sir, we lost 243 crew. The coalition lost 18 ships and over 3,000 people." Okonkwo nodded slowly. Every death hurt. But they had won. The border systems were safe. The Kresh would not return soon. "Contact the coalition fleet," he said. "Tell them the sector is secure." Mission accomplished. Vreltak received the message and sat back in his chair, processing what he had witnessed. The humans had won a battle that should have been impossible. They had taken on odds that no sane species would accept, and they had won. More than that, they had done it calmly, professionally, like it was just another day. One of his officers spoke quietly.
"Station Master, what did Admiral Okonkwo say when you asked about the casualties?"
Vreltak remembered the human admiral's words. Simple, direct, terrifying in their casualness. He said they have had worse Tuesdays. The command center fell silent. Worse Tuesdays. This devastating battle was just a routine operation for them. Vreltak understood now. The galaxy had spent 10,000 years trying to avoid war. Humanity had spent that same time perfecting it. The universe was about to learn what that meant. 1 month after the Battle of Arcturus Prime, the galaxy looked different. The Kresh Dominion, which had been expanding aggressively for decades, had retreated to their borders. For the first time in their history, they sent ambassadors to discuss peace treaties. The word had spread through their military. Do not fight the humans. You will lose. Smaller aggressive powers throughout the sector suddenly became very interested in non-aggression pacts. Pirate activity dropped by 70%. No one wanted to risk encountering a human patrol. On Kepler's Rest, Station Master Vreltak had been promoted to Sector Ambassador. His new job was to coordinate relations with humanity. It was both an honor and a source of constant anxiety. Tonight he sat in a small observation lounge with Captain Rebecca Chen. The Defiant had completed repairs and was preparing to return to patrol duties. Chen had agreed to one final meeting before departing. Vreltak poured drinks from his personal collection, a mild stimulant from his homeworld. He was not sure if humans could process it safely, but Chen accepted the glass without hesitation. To new friendships, Vreltak said, raising his glass. Chen smiled and raised hers. To new friends who help each other. They drank. Chen made a face. That is interesting. Sweet but with a bitter finish. Much like our current situation, Vreltak said. Captain, I have been studying your species for the past month. I need to understand something. Why are humans so effective at combat? Chen considered the question carefully. Every species in your coalition evolved on worlds where they were apex predators. You were at the top of the food chain. You never had to be afraid. You never had to fight for survival every single day. She took another sip of her drink. Earth was different. We were not apex predators. We were persistence hunters from a death world. We are not the fastest, not the strongest, not the smartest, but we have one advantage. We do not quit ever. Vreltak leaned forward. But why does that make you good at war? Because we have been fighting everything for our entire existence, Chen explained. Other tribes, other nations, the environment, disease, extinction events. We came close to destroying ourselves multiple times. That history taught us how to survive when survival seems impossible. She set down her glass. War is not an aberration for humans. It is what we are good at. Not because we love violence, but because we have spent thousands of years learning how to survive it. We build redundant systems because we expect things to break. We train for worst-case scenarios because we have experienced them. We fight outnumbered because that is how we have always fought. Vreltak processed this information. That is both reassuring and terrifying. Chen laughed. I understand. But here is the important part. We are good at war, yes, but we fight to protect, not to conquer. When we heard your distress call, we did not hesitate. Because that is what we do. We help. Before Vreltak could respond, his communicator chimed. An urgent message. He read it and his 4 eyes widened in alarm. What is wrong? Chen asked. There are reports coming in from the Outer Rim. A new threat. Ships unlike anything we have seen before. They are attacking colonies, destroying everything. The coalition fleet is mobilizing, but we do not know what we are facing. Chen stood immediately. Send me all the tactical data you have. I will forward it to Fleet Command. Within minutes, the information was transmitted. The response from human space came back faster than Vreltak thought possible. Admiral Okonkwo himself appeared on the communication screen. Ambassador Vreltak, we have reviewed the data. This appears to be an extragalactic invasion force. Origin unknown, capabilities unknown, but they are attacking your people. That is all we need to know. The United Nations Space Command is mobilizing. We will send reinforcements. Vreltak felt overwhelmed with gratitude. Admiral, you do not have to do this. This is not your fight. Okonkwo's expression was calm but determined. Ambassador, you are our friends now. When friends call for help, humans respond. That is who we are. The screen went dark. Chen was already heading for the door. I need to get back to the Defiant. We will coordinate with your fleet. Vreltak stopped her. Captain Chen, there is something I need to say. The Coalition is proposing a formal mutual defense pact with humanity. We want to make this official. Chen nodded. That sounds good. But you need to understand what you are agreeing to. You have seen us fight. You have seen what we are capable of. That is what you will be allying with. Not just our help, but our methods, our history, our approach to war. I know, Vreltak said. The Council reviewed Earth's military history. The World Wars, the nuclear age, the colonial conflicts. It was difficult to process. We asked ourselves how your species survived all that violence. Chen smiled sadly. We came very close to not surviving. That is why we are so good at not losing now. We learned the cost of losing. We learned that sometimes you have to be willing to do terrible things to protect what matters. She headed for the door again, then paused. Ambassador, when this new threat arrives, your people should send out a message on all frequencies. The same message we sent you. What message? Vreltak asked. Chen looked back at him, and for a moment Vreltak saw the determination that made humanity so formidable. Sit tight. Human warships on approach. All units brace for offensive operations. She left. Vreltak stood alone in the observation lounge watching the stars. 6 months ago, humanity had been unknown. Now they were about to become the galaxy's defenders. He accessed the Coalition communication network and began composing the message. The Council had approved the Mutual Defense Pact. Humanity was officially allied with the Coalition, and when the new threat arrived, they would face something they had never encountered before. A species that had spent 10,000 years perfecting the art of war. A species that did not fight for conquest or glory. They fought because someone asked for help. And humans never left anyone behind. Deep in human space, from Earth to the outer colonies, the mobilization began. Shipyards worked overtime. Reserves were called up. Supplies were loaded. Every human military installation prepared for deployment. In command centers across human territory, officers reviewed tactical data on the new threat. They studied the attack patterns. They planned strategies. They prepared for a fight that would test everything humanity had learned in its violent history. Admiral Okonkwo stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, watching his fleet assemble. 147 warships, every one of them scarred from previous battles. Every one of them ready to fight again. His tactical officer approached. Sir, the fleet is ready. All ships report green status. We can depart on your order. Okonkwo looked at the tactical display showing the Coalition fleet waiting for them. Allies who needed help, friends who had called out in their darkest hour. He thought about Earth, about the long, violent history that had brought humanity to this moment, about all the wars fought, all the lessons learned, all the people who had died so that humanity could survive. That history had a purpose. To make humanity strong enough to protect not just themselves, but others, to turn all that violence and determination toward something good. All ships, he said calmly. This is Admiral Okonkwo. We have new allies who need our help. They face an unknown threat. They are afraid. They are outnumbered. But they are not alone, because when someone calls for help, humans answer. That is who we are. That is what we do. He paused, then gave the order that would change the galaxy forever. Fleet, prepare for faster-than-light jump. We are going to war. Not for conquest, not for glory, but because our friends need us. And humans never leave anyone behind. The fleet jumped to faster-than-light speed, disappearing in flashes of light, heading toward a new battle, a new threat, another impossible situation, but humanity had spent thousands of years learning how to win impossible battles. The galaxy had spent 10,000 years avoiding war. Humanity had spent that same time perfecting it. The universe was about to learn the difference, and somewhere in the void, the message went out on all frequencies, clear, simple, filled with promise and warning in equal measure. Sit tight. Human warships on approach. All units brace.